It's interesting, Beth. We've actually seen a lot of Republicans, Republican governors in the U.S. as well as senators respond with some sort of frustration and almost try to distance themselves. You saw New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu essentially distance himself during a Sunday show interview here in the United States. And Senator Lindsey Graham, a senator from South Carolina who's been a staunch ally of President Trump during his presidency, say that this was inappropriate, that it would be inappropriate to pardon any of these people who stormed the Capitol and were arrested. I think a lot of Republicans right now are frustrated that President Trump is turning the narrative back towards January 6th, when Republicans could be focusing on issues that are impacting Americans in their everyday lives. For example, inflation. Prices are very high here in the United States, and that was definitely a talking point for Republicans and still is. However, Trump, as many say, is the de facto leader of the GOP, is shifting that conversation, and there's frustration.
And do we have any real idea, Julia, if he plans to run for president again, or whether he just still likes the attention and the crowds that he gathers around him?
I think your guess is as good as mine. At this point, President Trump was on a golf course recently, and someone was filming him and said, "Oh, President Trump, the 45th president of the United States." And he said 45th and 47th, definitely implying that he would be willing to run again. But he's also said, if I run, very much leaving some gray area there. So I think it's definitely got a lot of other potential 2024 presidential contenders like former Vice President Mike Pence really on their toes right now because they don't know if they'll jump into the race.
Interesting. Secretary Blinken is going to be talking to his Russia counterpart later today over Ukraine and Russia's growing offensive there. Is this a last-ditch diplomatic effort? There were sort of chaotic scenes at the Security Council last night.
Yeah, very chaotic scenes. I think this is definitely, what you would call a last-ditch effort. I think the U.S. is very much trying to do all they can to sort of de-escalate the situation because in U.S. terms, in the U.S. view, an invasion or some sort of incursion could be imminent, hearing from the Biden administration and so on. However, it's interesting hearing the Ukrainian point of view. Look, these are people who have been used to living under the threat of Russia's shadow for years now, and they've been very much, I think, frustrated that the U.S. is ratcheting up this rhetoric. But I think the U.S. very much views this as a threat. Putin is essentially posing towards the West.
Yeah. Let's move to President Biden. He's not having the easiest time of it at the moment. As you point out, there's rampant inflation, lots of issues for him with his own agenda. How quickly is he going to move forward on a new Supreme Court pick and get some sort of gain, do you think?
Well, it certainly gives him something different to talk about, something that can really rally maybe a frustrated Democratic and progressive base by filling that seat. Now, remember, retiring Justice Stephen Breyer's seat will not change the makeup of the Supreme Court. Breyer is a liberal. However, it will ensure that a younger liberal justice who could have an impact on the makeup of the court going forward and after future presidents and so on and so forth. So I think right now you are going to see Biden work with Senate Democrats. We've heard the timeline is falling around February, end of February, but I think we will definitely see this before the midterms in November. Remember, we've had a couple of elections, midterm and presidential elections here in the United States, where there has been very last-minute efforts to confirm justices. So you will see Democrats taking a page out of the Republican playbook on that matter.
Yeah. And, the President Biden has made it clear that he wants to appoint the first black female justice. Is he likely to get GOP support?
We've actually heard some, praise for some of these contenders from some Republicans. However, at the same time, I think the nomination process is definitely going to favor Democrats. They have the votes to confirm in the Senate, and obviously Joe Biden will appoint. But I think Republicans are going to use this as a bit of political theater to very much press a lot of these contenders on conservative issues important to them, issues like abortion, for example. They will very much try to get their point across publicly, even though they likely will not be able to stop a nominee from being confirmed.
Great to talk. Thanks, Julia.
Thank you.